Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 164 of Overdose and Chill. Podcast been running now for 2 years, where we introduce you to incredible founders, leaders, entrepreneurs, moguls in the world of retail, learn about their stories and maybe dabble into a little bit of digital in what they've been doing. So the pod's been on hiatus for around about 2 months whilst we've been doing peak season planning, and hopefully you all tuned in to the peak season series. But I am thrilled today. We've got a rock star guest for you. Welcome Abby Forsyth, CEO, founder, entrepreneur, mogul, head honcho, oligarch of KeepCup. How are you, Abby?
Dictator.
Whereabouts are you joining us from today, Abby?
I'm joining you from Wurundjeri country, from Clifton Hill, Victoria.
Beautiful. So in the background, this is the KeepCup warehouse.
Yep, office and warehouse headquarters. Yep.
Amazing. So Abby, before we kind of rip in, why don't you just give us, for those who don't know, and everyone should know because it's an iconic brand, tell us a little bit about what the bloody hell is a KeepCup?
What the bloody hell is a KeepCup is a solution to disposable cup waste and consumption. So we started 15 years ago when, if you wanted to show someone was busy and important, you put a laptop in one hand and a disposable cup in the other. And we saw from working in cafes that we found out that 1 million disposable cups are discarded to landfill every minute around the world. So thought, well, there must be a better way, and invented a cup, started KeepCup, and it really sort of took off around the world as a better way to consume coffee.
So
now we've grown into a big brand. We've got lots of reusable products, and I guess our sweet spot is lo-fi products that sort of intervene at the point when you might reach for a single-use item, and we try and provide a solution.
Incredible. Alrighty, so for everyone listening, we are, you should be picking us up on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Drop your questions in. Anything that drops into the comments on whichever channel you're doing comes into our world. Holly's producing this in the background, and we'll throw this on screen. At the end of the pod, Abby's going to choose her best question that was the most insightful, and you will win yourself a KeepCup of your choice. So there's an incentive to get engaged in. So Abby, let's go all the way back. I know when we were catching up, preparing for today's pod, I found it intriguing that you and I both have kind of similar career paths where we were all working in corporate and then we decided to back ourselves. You've gone from being a solicitor to owning a cafe to now being a product company. Give us a little bit about your personal journey of how you instigated those changes in your life.
Yeah, I'd say it's a tale of unbridled enthusiasm and naivety in a way. So I finished school, I got marks. My skills were really creative skills, but got the marks, did a law degree, didn't enjoy the law degree, spent more time at the pub and the cafe than in the lecture hall. But then I got a job in a really small law firm in Melbourne under a solicitor who was just a terrific person, really clever and thoughtful and I guess ethical person, and really enjoyed that and was enjoyed the practice. But I guess my best advice was always sort of walk away and try and negotiate. Like I didn't really love, I guess, the results for people in a lot of circumstances. And then my brother was working in the UK and he'd call me up every week with a new business idea. He'd like veterinary supermarkets was one of them. I remember I was like, oh no. And then he's like, oh, I've seen these cafes in London called Pret a Manger. And I was like, oh, well, I'm a good cook. I like people. Let's do it. So I ditched the law and we started these cafes, and it turned out that's actually not quite what running a cafe is all about. Like it's about systems and process and hygiene and so that was a pretty sharp learning curve. We ended up with, I think, 7 cafes at the high point, and we did that for 10 years. And then that's where we saw the rise of the disposable cup and thought, well, there must be a better way. And so we started KeepCup. I think one of my favourite stories there is that we did the design, we got it all ready, and then we wanted to make it locally because it was about sustainability. And we took it around to lots of local manufacturers, and this guy goes, "Oh, it's just a plastic cup. Like, what?" I don't get it. He goes, "I've got all these tools over there that are much better products, much better designs than yours. If you can't sell it, then just save your money and walk away." And at the time, I was so excited by the idea and so energized by it, I was a bit upset. But then I did what he said, and we called all these, because we had the catering business, we called all the corporate customers. We got to the sustainability person. They didn't have any money. Then we got to the marketing person, and we said, you're building 6-star green buildings, but everything in your business is disposable. You need to connect people's behavior with what you're trying to achieve here. And we ended up selling 10,000 off the prototype to NAB and Energy Australia. So it was a great lesson. Yeah.
So you got a fast start.
Yeah, we got a fast start. Yeah. I remember going downstairs from NAB and calling Dad and going, "Dad, they're going to buy 5,000. He's like, "Wait till you get the purchase order." He didn't.
You always need the realist in the family, right? So go back. Obviously, I had a bit of a similar background of where I dropped out of corporate, went into hospitality, owned 3 or 4 fine dining restaurants, then found my way back into business. But do you still hark back to that, where the learnings from hospitality became the foundation for understanding all business because it's so intense?
Yeah, so intense and so immediate, and the teamwork is so important in it. Like anyone who comes from hospitality background, as far as I'm concerned, has a sort of a leg up. You have to deal with customers. You have to follow systems and processes, but in a way that's like you're thinking on your feet. Like, you've got to be thinking a few steps ahead, and you've got that narrow window to make all your money. If you don't make your sandwiches, get the sandwiches out between 12 and 1, you're in trouble. If you don't get your coffees made between 7:30 and 9. So yeah, I do agree about that.
Yeah, the things I go back to is the real-time manufacturing. It's not even just in time, it's on time. And also that your customer is the expert, right? There is, you hand them your product and they choose whether or not they would like a refund for it. And I remember those days of working out, should I scrub the floor or should I pay someone to scrub the floor today? What does that affect my margin? And that's how I learned how to read a P&L. It's how I learned how to be a founder.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's move into the product line. Tell me about the difference between the ethical vision of I just want to do something to save the world versus business acumen and principles and design and aesthetic of I want to actually build a sustainable business. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in that of I want to do something valuable to the world, but does that mean that I should be profitable and successful when selling 5,000 cups to NAB, or have I kind of sold out through there? Where did your mind sit when you were starting the business?
That's a great question. We could talk about this for 10 years. My mindset at the start was solving a problem. So really naive, really found out that disposable cups weren't recyclable, thought, gosh, there must be a better way. And I remember at the start just being really, someone else must have done this. Like, this is such an obvious solution to a problem. We must be getting something wrong. And so thinking through all that, and then, I got letters from the health department saying there was no hygiene risk. We just all those impediments. We wanted it to be made in Australia. It was very much a commitment to driving this campaign to end the use of disposable cups. And then it was also at a time in 2009, I think, where sustainability was starting to go mainstream. I remember there was an ad on TV where it was like, Jenny's not going solar because she wants to save the earth. It's because she wants to save some money. So there was this real optimism that individual behaviour change could drive the change we needed to save the world. And KeepCup was sort of a big, we got swept up in that. And then we started to make, we were profitable right out of the gate, and it went really well. And I guess probably my personal background and training is like I do have a commercial mindset. So one of the challenges was when we first started, people would come in thinking we're all going to be, I don't know, sitting around a campfire strumming Kumbaya and saving the world. But actually, in order to do that, you need to make a product that's desirable, that's usable. You need to get the margins right. Like all those things are critical to being able to affect change. Like you can't affect change. And I think we learnt that really quickly as well, that sustainability is a great underpinning force in the business. Like it's a rational force, but it's not the, it's not the emotional driver to change behavior or purchase something or do those things. Yeah.
I think it often gets lost in the ethos of the public that you have to be corporately responsible to be able to be socially responsible.
Yeah.
And if you're not profitable, if you're not growing, then you can't have impact on change.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there has to be the fruits of your labor that come off the back of that. So when I first got into KeepCup, I was attracted by, and this might be offensive, I was attracted by the aesthetic rather than the values, first of all. And tell me about that, of where do the design principles, because you've kept this one silhouette for 15 years now. So does the public...
Some would argue I've held on to that too long, but yes, I have. Yep.
Yeah. But does the public buy into the design aesthetic values first before they buy into the social values?
Yeah, like we did, the first market we did was in a car park in Melbourne when all those design markets were really popular, and people going past going, I don't even know what it is, but I like it. Like they were attracted to it before they knew what it was. So we knew that aesthetic consideration was really important. And I was like, I guess I wanted it to be that you could use the reusable cup, but no one would necessarily know that it was a reusable cup. Like I wanted it to be an understated thing so that you didn't have to make a bold statement. So the first colours and patterns, the first colours we did were all really neutral and sort of subtle. And then as people became more confident and more, I guess, proud of what they were doing, the colours sort of really exploded and became more vibrant and, hey, look at me. I mean, you used to walk down the street and people would give you a bit of a, if you're carrying a KeepCup.
Mm-hmm. And is that your aesthetic? Or have you got a partner who designs with you?
So I started the business with my brother. We've always engaged professional designers. I'm not a designer, but I guess the big sort of luxury curves are pretty much me. I mean, we designed a bottle and my brother goes, my God, that is like you in a bottle. So yeah, I guess it is my aesthetic.
And then how has the product evolved? So I remember the first one I had was, you're going to correct me, but a form of plastic. Then we got into the glass, then we had cork. Now it appears that you've kind of moved into the bottles and the sippers. And has the brand evolved through design aesthetic, or has it kind of evolved through product breadth?
I think it's probably evolved through response to how people are consuming coffee. So it's more it's back to hospo. It's like, well, what are people drinking? How are they drinking it? When are they drinking it? Like, how do we intervene to help people choose reuse over single use in what we're doing? I mean, plastic, as it should, gets a really bad rap. And so people often, the heuristic is avoid plastic, which is correct. But if you're using a reusable plastic item to replace single use, which, anything that holds liquid, heat or oil is plastic, is a plastic bag with a paper coating. So, I don't think plastic is a bad solution in terms of reuse. And it's sort of coming back, I think. People are, from a price point of view. And then also, we've got the manufacturing streams are changing as well. So we can now get 90% recycled steel. The plastic's now 50% recycled. So there are changes happening at a macro level that are impacting how we can now manufacture.
Love it. And how do you tether that ambition of wanting to do 1 million products? In fact, let's come back to that. We've got a little question here from Mr. LinkedIn user. Someone's gone incognito there. I guess this is in continuity with what you're just saying. difference between reuse and recycling, we always get hammered with recycle, recycle, recycle. We don't get hammered with reuse messaging.
We know the answer to that. So that is because we're trying to sell stuff. So GDP increases if you buy 100 single-use items. If you buy one reusable item and keep using it, we don't get economic growth. So that's why reuse is such a hard sell. And it's our most popular products we sell are replacement parts. So we know that people are keeping a product and following out the ethos and using it over and over again, and then just replacing the part, not the product, which is great, but challenging from a commercial point of view. So it's having that balance to stay in business. I mean, KeepCup, we sort of drifted way into sort of campaigning against single use and really, I guess, forgot about our origins in product for a while, sort of heading into the pandemic, and that we've had to kind of rein that back because we're in a much more competitive environment now where we need to strongly compete on brand and product as well as our roots in campaigning against single use and sustainability. It's a challenge. Like in some ways I'm like, in 2020 I was lying, or 2019, I was lying in bed at night going, oh my God, like I was trying to solve a problem of single use. And now people have a cupboard full of reusable cups. Like if we just replace one problem with another problem, we still haven't solved the first one. Like it is fraught how
I can say that having young teenage or preteen daughters of where 18 months ago, they were demanding to have, I'm going to talk about your competitors here, but they were demanding that I have to have a Frank Green bottle because it was the bottle they had to have when they were going to the gym. Now, 18 months kind of behind the US curve, on their Christmas list is, I want a Stanley Cup, right? And it's like, what you're actually asking for is a lifestyle design accessory. What you're not asking me for is a reusable bottle, right? And we're the same. We've got bloody cupboards full. Cupboards full of the things, right? The thing that I find really impressive through there is, and in fact, I can even go back 18 months, 2 years before that, when it was Hydro Flask. They had to have Hydro Flask. So I think you need to take some immense pride here of where you almost open an industry up of where it's now become a lifestyle accessory, right?
I don't know if I have a lot of pride in that. I'm like, oh my God.
There's some commercial pride in there, but there's also the downside, right? So let's look at those business ethics. So I know that you were one of the founders of B Corp in Australia.
One of the first B Corps in Australia, the founding 40 or whatever they were called. Yeah.
Does B Corp mean as much today as it did 10 years ago?
Sadly, no. I think the optimism has faded, and I think there's this real tension, and I think it really exploded during the pandemic where, we're busy using our reusable straws, and we saw how quickly governments could, lock us in our homes, stop planes flying, like the power to make really wholesale change in our lives. And I guess it made us go, there was a real disconnect. You've got billionaires taking a 15-minute jet flight to go and get a coffee, and we're busy with our reusable straws. I think there's that real disconnect between why are individuals being made responsible when actual change at a much higher level needs to take place that could solve a lot of these problems. So I think there's a disconnect.
So are you kind of suggesting then that B Corp has almost become a little bit of greenwashing for brands and is almost kind of a minimum requirement?
Oh, no, certainly wouldn't say that. So our history of becoming a B Corp was, we started KeepCup. We're trying to solve a problem. I'm running the business. I've got a young kid. And someone's like, oh, what's my, can I have a position description? And I'm like, what? I'm busy doing all this stuff. So internally, we were not running a particularly well-organised business. And B Corp actually gave us the framework to build out some of the things to, it was a bit of a blueprint for how to get some business basics running. So that's how I used it. And then the other thing was that people would call us up and go, oh, are you fair trade? And we're like, no, we're a plastic cup. Or are you organic? No, we're not. It's got nothing to do with us. Do you have what certification? You know, I think you're a good business. What certification do you have to prove that you are? And of course, we didn't have one. And B Corp provided that certification to say we are an ethical business. We do sort of walk our talk. And I still think, it's, you know, the challenge for B Corp is it can either be a whole bunch of small businesses who are using it as a marketing tool, or they can make some risky choices and try and bring in some of the big guns like Nestle and Danone. But they're going to, it's a fraught endeavour. So and also you end up with this, you know, I guess you end up with this schism that, you know, we're seeing in American politics, where you then get the anti-B Corp. I mean, the whole idea of B Corp is that all businesses, we lift the standard of what business is, and all businesses become slightly more ethical in their approach. But what's happened is people are like, well, I'm not a B Corp, or I am a B Corp, and it's become quite a divisive thing, which is not good for anyone.
So in your mindset, Abby, do you see B Corp as a level that you aspire to, or a benchmark that you grow beyond from?
That's the challenge, because yes, it should be a benchmark that you grow beyond, but because we're all commercial, we're all like, I'm like, I want to get the highest score, like we want to be the best. So I think the B Corps we certified a year ago, and I think since then they've tried to remove the score, which is you know, what's the point if you can't get it's for all the nerds. We want the high marks. I want an A+.
So after you've gone past that very noisy 5% customer that genuinely cares about your score, does the rest of the market give a monkeys? Really?
No, I think because there's now some skepticism about what that means. I think for a while it did. I mean, we got into Whole Foods in the US because we were B Corp. That was a box they ticked as part of their decision making. I think increasingly in the UK, we have to step through a lot of product certification hurdles. Like there is a lot of legislation coming to try and, you know, level the playing field around using recycled materials, circular economy, how you're disposing of waste, which sort of plays into what B Corp's doing. But I think it's going to be at a supplier. It's changing supply chain that is the big driver. You know, you're much better spending your money putting solar panels on the roof, probably.
I hear you. Okay, let's see what we've got coming in through the comments. Holly, you just want to pop up Jess's question here? Jess has asked, how can a brand stay innovative after being in business for so long and to keep those customers coming back? And I guess that's a dichotomy for you, because you're saying, I almost don't want you to come back. I want you to keep on using that same cup for 15 years, but please do come back.
And now I'm like, please come back. I think you have to keep doing new stuff, and that's the challenge. I mean, in some levels you could just shut the door and then you'd be really sustainable because you wouldn't be making any more stuff. But there's a real joy in making stuff that people love. Like that's one of the thrills that keeps me here and coming to work. I mean, we've got a new product that I went and did a bit of, mystery shopping last night, and I had it filled in the shop, and the guy filled it and he's like, oh my God, that's so cool. I love that. And he's like, Katie, come over here. And then his daughter came over and she's like, oh, Dad, I want one of them. And yeah, that's exciting to get that immediate feedback, and that for something that you've built and put in the world. So yeah, I think it's staying creative and staying open. Yeah.
So what does that process of innovation look like? Where do those ideas start from? And how do you go from, because I think your answer is going to be where we started this, which is I like to solve problems, right? I'm not here to create demand. I'm here to solve problems. So I don't need to do a hot pink one just because pink is the new color. I get that. So that ability to identify a problem and then all the way through to the product release, how does the brain of Abby work in that space, and what kind of lead time sits there.
Probably have to ask the team. You might get a bit of swearing when they answer. I think it's probably identifying a problem or maybe an opportunity in the way people are, it's observing people and what people are eating, what they're drinking, how they're drinking it. Because yes, it is solving a problem, but it's also, you've got to create a product that has a bit of cut through as well. It's a pretty noisy and crowded market. So, I don't really ever want to make something that is off the shelf. Like, I want to design something original, which means there's high risk in that, because you can design something original that everyone thinks is like a bit, we've got these bottles over here that haven't done particularly well. But, you've got to be in it to win it. So we've designed them, we've tried them, we're trying to do something different, innovative, that, I guess our principles are around drinking pleasure, that you enjoy the drink. The drivers to be sustainable are that you enjoy the drinking experience or the consuming experience of what you're doing. You love the look and feel of it. You love the texture of it. You love, I often tell the story that my grandmother used to, have a cup of tea that she'd have on the, sitting at the table, we talking when I was a kid, and it was this dirty old mug that was chipped and it was all brown in the middle. And I saved up and got her a new mug for Christmas or something, and she never used it because she loved the old mug that she loved forever. And there is that thing of people, we all have the pair of sneakers that we can't throw out because we love them, or the pair of jeans we love to wear. So it is, for us, we're less about trying to have the latest color and, have 15 of these, to becoming the product that you love and you want to carry because you enjoy using it so much, and it's become part of your, the way you live. Yeah. And that's getting harder and harder in a world where, people expect to wear something twice and then throw it out. Like, there's that, that sense of having things for a long time, and, the patina of use and all that is a bit of a lost value in a way in our society. Right, I
think
now.
We need to. I think we almost need to see like almost like one of those Nike Jordan museums. We need to see like the evolution of history and the stock value of your 2009 KeepCup is now worth 10 times what it was because it's got this patina. So this was a question I was going to ask you as well, which is what other single-use business to consumer problems have you thought about solving? And I kind of look at that of, you've always done products which are consumption of liquids. Have you ever looked at doing plates and chopsticks and solving the rest of the world's problems out there? Or is it because it's called a KeepCup that you always have to do something consumption?
No, I think we can expand. I think KeepCup's strong enough that we can do lots of other things. And we're starting to do that. I think I remember being at a trade show once and I was like, I was explaining to some guy, I was like, the thing about KeepCup is that it's such a visible thing. Like, you carry it, people see it, people say, what is that? And that's how it became so viral. And he was like, yeah, I work at Coke, we call it brand in hand. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. It's so I think there's an advantage with your bottles and your cups in that they are brand in hand. You see them, people go, what's that? And it's a great way. Whereas if it's a lunchbox or container, it's harder to get that cut through to be, I guess, a lifestyle brand product, because you're usually on the supermarket shelf. It's hard to compete with Systema or someone where it's $9 a pop. So I think you'll see all of us lifestyle reusable brands doing this as we struggle to kind of, as the market becomes more and more saturated.
So we can expect to see KeepCup chopsticks and KeepCup plates and KeepCup picnic sets?
I don't know. We're toying with a few things. But I think for us, we have to stay, we want to stay true to our values. So in the end, if you've got a plate, where should you be eating something off a plate? And do you need to have like a reusable plate when ceramic plates are in and of themselves reusable? So you don't want to make a thneed. So
what was that word?
The Lorax, the Dr. Seuss.
Okay, I'm with you.
Need.
Yeah, I'm with you now. Okay. Alrighty, we've talked about product. Let's talk a little bit about digital. And interestingly, we don't actually talk about digital much on the pod. But one of the reasons I want to go into that was that you were such an early adopter of doing digital. And I recall back in the days when, were you one of the very first people where you could almost create your own product online?
Yeah, we built the DYO, yeah.
Must have been like 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there. You know, this is like back when Nike ID was a thing, right?
Yeah.
So again, is this you looking for differentiation, playing in negative spaces, and digital just fitted there? Or are you more digital native and felt this is what I need to expand and take the product out to market?
I am no digital native, and that was probably my brother at the time who really drove that. I still remember we were at that when we did that first design market. When we first launched, like, we were ambitious, and we were like, well, when we launched the website, we're going to make it global. And that first design market in 2009, there was someone there from the blog Apartment Therapy, and they blogged about KeepCup, and we got 7 sales to the US that weekend. So that was just like, oh my God. And it probably cost us more to ship them there but our choice was always, you know, from my legal background with IP and design and stuff, like, I know our biggest strength is our brand. So you've got to follow, you know, it was grow the brand and follow it that way. But in terms of digital, yeah, I think we've been a bit slow on a lot of those things. I always feel like, you know, I still remember thinking in 2009 SEO was sort of cheating.
Right.
You know, because you're genericizing the word. You genericize, you know, it's a homogenizing force in retail. But now I'm all over it. I'm late to the party.
So do you enjoy selling online, or would you prefer that the customer touched and felt and experienced the product?
Oh no, I mean, it's a great, online's amazing. I buy online, I shop online. I think, I do think, well, I'll speak personally for myself. I do think I make better choices when I buy things in person than I do online. But, you know, when you know what you're looking for, it's a fantastic tool to buy things and, find things. And it's certainly really important for, and yet, brand awareness is really important in that online space as well.
And then, so as you expanded into US, UK, I assume you're all over Europe somewhere, somehow. Yep. Have you done that direct to consumer, or have you done it through distribution, through partners, through big wholesale?
Product mix. So we've got an office in the UK. We had an office in LA, and we shut it as like I was just about to sign a lease in February 2020, and went, oh, this is.
Oh, you timed that well.
So, so we had to pull out of we're running 3PL in the US now, and we've got a team in the UK servicing the UK and Europe. So it's always a combination. I think you've got to have your brand out facing the public so people see it, feel it, touch it. So they all work together, and you've got to have a good mix, and you've got to have a strong, I mean, your website's your portal to the brand and the business. So that's got to be a great experience for the customer.
If you were going back into those markets again, would you do it the same way, or would you find a distro, hand it off, let people partner with you? Or would you?
No, I think that one of the challenges with product businesses now, it's really hard to and particularly smaller businesses, to get distribution. The margins just are not there.
Yeah.
So if you've got a retailer who wants 70% margin, like how can a distributor possibly make a margin?
Yeah.
Selling it on. So, I mean, I still remember someone saying like 10 years ago, if you're not in Google, Alibaba, and Amazon, in 10 years you'll be dead. And I was like, oh, it's true.
And do you see that difference with your US customers, that their buying patterns are very different to your Australians?
Yeah. I mean, Amazon's huge for us. Huge.
Really?
Yeah. Particularly in the US more than anywhere else.
Are you starting to see that happen in the Australian market? It's creeping?
A little, not like slower than you'd expect. I mean, I think I think geography and population present challenges for Amazon here.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now, some of my favorite questions are my hardest questions to ask. as an entrepreneur, as an individual, how do you find contentment, Abby, in business? When is enough enough? When can you walk away with absolute pride and going, I did good today?
Done.
Not that you're done, but how do you find contentment?
Well, that's a change. Like, of course, that's a changing story.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I'll speak for myself, but I'm guessing that as an entrepreneur and someone who, I guess I would pride myself in being an original thinker, being creative, being a bit of a thought starter, being I am, if nothing else, a driving force in all parts of my life. And one of the challenges I think probably in the last couple of years has been, well, I'm now in my 50s. I certainly can't work as hard as I did in my 30s and 40s. Mm-hmm. And if my value is to be the thought starter and the creative, well, what does that mean for my team? Like, how do I bring up a new generation of leaders in the business if I have to be the one with all the great ideas? So I think there's a process of letting go there and trying to then change your role slightly, which I've found really hard. I think I'm getting there now, but like people say, oh, you're going to be a mentor. I'm like, no, I want to be mentored. Like I still want to be in it rather than feeling like you're on the outs. Like, yeah, but I think I'm getting to peace with that now. So I find contentment. And I think the other challenge was when you are in a business and it's, I think the hardest times was when it was going really, really well, like to be able to, I felt like I was always hard on the accelerator or not on it at all. And so I'm on or I'm off, and being able to sort of, mediate that pedal. Like I can walk away and switch off, but I can't sort of I found it hard to be moderate does that make sense in my approach?
I mean, I share that same asset and problem, which is that it took me 5-8 years of growing the business to realize that I was actually quite a binary person, right? It's either all on or all off. And that was when I chose to step away from being a CEO and move back into a strategic role, very similar to yourself. It's like, I want to be, the biggest value is the imagination, the curiosity, the problem solving, looking ahead and round the corners. And one of my biggest failures is that I didn't have that ability to go analog and do we're all going to run at 80%. And then what happens is, as entrepreneurs, you burn yourself out, right? Because you try to run at full gas for 3 years, and then you realize you're hitting the pedal and there's no gas left in the tank through there.
Yeah, and your team will look at you going, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why would you be doing that?
And then you have to surround yourself with other leaders who do have that quality to be analog, right? And to be able to, and also to be able to turn around and look behind you and make sure that people are still following. Because sometimes you're racing so fast down there, you realize you're in the next state and you forgot to tell them that we're moving and we're going in this new direction.
I was just going to say, I'm actually sitting in, so we moved offices during the pandemic to, we were out of space. And I got an office. I'm sitting in it now. And now it's like the samples room, because I was there for about a year and I felt so isolated and sort of paranoid, and I couldn't, you don't get the feeling of what's going on. And so I'm back on the floor, and I've, and that makes me happy. It makes me happy to be sort of in amongst it. Like my daughter's actually working here one day a week at the moment. And she's like, Mum, as a business owner, aren't you supposed to be like communicating to people and, making sure people understand what they're doing and stuff? And she goes, you always seem to be just in the corner doing a job. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I like doing the jobs. I like doing the work. That's,
Well, I also believe that the very, very best businesses out there have a defaulting to trust, right? And when you're defaulting to trust those team around you, that I don't want to manage you, and secondly, I don't expect to have to manage you because I've employed you to be the best version of yourself. And I think it's interesting where kids look at that and you go, God, you run this big company, Mum. doesn't that mean that you're there bossing people around with the Jones Bond power suit, sitting in a boardroom all day? And it's like, no, I'm just answering emails. Yep. So who inspires you, Abby? What other businesses out there in this product design, evolution space, circular economy that are really kind of moving the needle and starting to then become that North Star that everyone else is aspiring to?
That's a good question. I've always liked Freitag, the Austrian bag makers that make it out of the bill posters. I think they're super cool and have a lot of integrity in the way they've stuck to their guns around what they do. Like Aesop is a great example of, just that consistent approach to brand and delivering.
And what an incredible exit they got out of that business as well.
Absolutely. There's a company in Italy called, I'm going to get it wrong, Repo or Ripa, R-I-P-A-O, and they take, you can send back your cotton and your cashmere, and then they rewind it and make new garments out of it, which I think is incredibly cool. So yeah, I think I like the ones that, they're my three.
And then I'll ask you the same question in another way. Which brands are you loyal to?
Oh, I'm going to really...
Your guilty pleasures, come on.
Yeah, my guilty pleasure, Dries Van Noten, the fashion designer.
Okay.
So he just sold out. He got an exit back for 25 years, and I just loved the attention to fabric, the way, he when he did a runway show about 5 years ago, he got the women who had modelled his clothes in their 20s, and they were then in their 70s and still wearing the clothes, looking absolutely beautiful. So I just love everything about that. Who else am I loyal to? I'm not really that loyal.
You're not really that loyal. I think it's really interesting. I understand the picture here.
I'll tell you who I am loyal to. I tell you who I've helped enormously is Andrew McConnell and his restaurants in Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
Very loyal there.
So the vision I get here is that you're either in this position of really big picture problem solving that is led by aesthetics and quality, but then I can imagine you're also the person that is right down in the grimy details and is telling you that I don't like the crosshairs on the top of that screw.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very annoying for everyone, but
because they're like, that's what you get. That's what you get. Amazing. Such an insightful chat. I so appreciate you taking the time out, Abby. I know that you've got such a busy schedule on. Pick one of those questions. We had 3 questions coming in there about reuse over recycling. How do you stay innovative, and what other solutions are you solving? Who do you want to pick out of that 3?
I like why is reuse always overlooked over recycling.
Okay, so Holly, you're going to have to dig out who asked that question on LinkedIn, because with our little system,
I think that's LinkedIn member, whoever that was.
Yeah.
You know who else I'm loyal to is the Tasmanian Walking Company. Done a lot of walks with them, and I think they do a brilliant job. We just got back from Larapinta, and it was magic. Good call out.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, joining the pod today. Abby, you're a rock star. Thank you so much. KeepCup.com if you want to learn more about the product. You should all own one, and you should all be reusing it. And you're not supposed to buy 2, but please buy 2. Okay. Thanks so much, Abby. Have a fab weekend.
Thank you. Thanks, Todd.